She never said she was sad and depressed, but you knew something was wrong. I'm Acadia Einstein, and this is Strangeful Things.
Sheltering in place is not advised, as your survival cannot be ensured in that scenario.
Love has practically caused me to just get you destroyed.
Unsolved, unresolved, and super complicated.
Strangeful Things.
Welcome, everybody, to the beginning of Season 7.
Are we sure about that?
Things.
Because we had Season 5 all wrong.
I've done a lot of calculations. We had fucking 19 months off for me to fucking count.
We were only off for like a month and a half. It's just that it took a whole year to do 23 episodes.
Yeah. Well, no more. We're jamming it right in there now.
Jamming.
I'm Acadia, and this is Shuey. Hi, Shuey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ready to rock.
Yep.
Season 7.
Matter of fact,
just when most shows start that steep decline. Woo! Can't wait.
That's
but
right.
It's only my
this is where we're
3.5
stride.
season or what is it? 2.5 season?
Half.
I came in at the end of season 4. I think season 4, right?
Yes. Something like that, yeah.
Because then Sandwich quit, and then we had season 5, and then Mills quit. And then we had season 6, and right at the beginning of that.
No, Mel's quit in season 6.
Oh, that's true. That's right. Well, I was trying to make it seem more.
I'm like the fucking
spread out
Mickey Rooney of fucking podcast hosts.
You were the most popular podcast host from 1949 to 1950.
Yes, and I had 11 podcast mates.
I think he was the biggest star during the World War II because everybody else was either fighting or hiding.
I'm too little to fight, said Mickey.
Look at me.
There's no uniform that would fit me. I'm the size of a child.
Give him like a chimp costume from like the circus or something to wear. About the right size.
The only thing all my bad relationships have in common is me. And Matt. All right. So a lot of you have probably been thinking about the police. And if you think about the police, as in the police force, then you might also think of the band The Police, which would then make you think of the song Don't Stand So Close to Me. But first it would make you
think of the slow version from the Greatest Hits album. Then you'd think about the original version.
You can make a strong case that the Police were a reggae band.
They were also a punk band. There were a lot of different things.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, that line from that song that's about some kid trying to bang the singer of the song. And remember, the song is written the unwilling guy being tempted by the sexy schoolgirl.
That poor guy. Oh.
And he references the book by Nabokov, which is of course Lolita.
Nabokov, according to the book that I listened to about this.
Yeah, I know. All right, I don't know why you would give away the fact that we actually did research. See,
season 7. Season 7. Both of us actually read up on the subject.
We read a book. I don't care if it's Nabokov because in the song it's Nabokov.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sting knows
because
better.
It wouldn't rhyme otherwise. Yeah, he knows what's up. So, which is about a fucking pervert that lusts after this kid, and they made like 47 movies out of it, and everybody fucking loves it, and everybody remembers that fucking videotape case of the girl with the heart-shaped glasses sucking on the lollipop. And then they made the Poison Ivy movies, which were kind of the same thing, except that the girl killed him, which is better.
True.
I like the killing.
Kind of like you're going to get, if you take the bait, then you're making yourself a victim. Right?
That's right.
It's good. Keep your hands off kids.
That's good turnaround.
It's a simple theme.
We're coming down firmly on the... Yeah. Don't bang kids. And certainly don't do what is going to happen in our story, because little did you know that there was a real case. But by the way, Lolita was only written in the 50s. One would assume it was old time. I never read the fucking thing. What do I care? I'm sure that it's good literature. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it was not about, like, it's not a fuck book. It's not, for people to whack. No,
but he doesn't come down on the guy either, like.
Yeah, I
don't know. It's not, I guess. It's good literature, I guess. And Nabokov was a great writer, but it, I don't know.
Well, he might have been a great writer, but he wasn't a great comer-upper with ideaser, because there was a true story that he basically lifted big chunks of so that he could write his fuck book.
You said it wasn't
a fuck book. His his highbrow non-fuck book. And
so this isn't...
So we have to go back to
small teens or something.
No, it's not fucking no. God damn it. God damn it. This. And also, by the way,
what?
Here's the thing that when they fucking made the Lolita movies and everything like that, they always made her like, she's 15, 16, something like that. In the book, she's much 12, younger. 12. There's no 12-year-old anything that is anything but a child. I don't give a fuck if they've been making shoes in a Chinese factory for 6 years. They're still 12.
That's the whole thing. And that's, we've talked about this before too, with like, they used to get married when they was 12. Like, she didn't get married because she wanted to. The girl got married because she was sold off or traded for land or some other bullshit. They weren't treated as people. That's why. Yep. And it was, it was Stanley Kubrick who made the first Lolita movie, right?
Yeah, I'm over
he's
that
a weird
fuck. And I can't watch that fucking guy on YouTube fucking jizzing over The Shining over and over and over again. Like, we're way off track. But all I'm saying is, okay, so Stanley Kubrick made some good movies, but you can't fucking say that he doesn't make mistakes and then when there's an obvious mistake, go, we don't know what
he was thinking.
No.
He was too smart for us.
Means fucking shit. But there is a lot of fucked up, quote unquote, mistakes in The Shining. Like, some of them had to have been on purpose because they would have had to rebuild the whole fucking set in order to make it the way that it showed up in the mirror. Like, fucking light switches appear and disappear and shit like that.
Anywho.
So anyway, we're going to 1937, April 18th. Little Sally Horner is born in Camden, New Jersey, right outside Philadelphia.
Camden, New Jersey.
Yep. She was poor. She had an older sister named Susan. And Susan, we're not dealing with when she was a baby or whatever. At the time everything happened, her sister was just married and just found out she was pregnant. She worked with her husband, Al Panero. That name will come up later. And her mother, Sally's mother, remember,
Right.
Sally is the girl. Never mind the sister, Susan. But Sally's mother, Ella, was a widow. And her father had been a drunk who killed himself 5 years before. And Ella couldn't really hold down a job. She was kind of a seamstress, but I don't know how many seamstress jobs there were, but apparently...
Well, back in southern Jersey was a lot like the poorer parts of Massachusetts. There were a lot of mills and stuff. Millville, which is right down there. Also, there was like a place where I used to work, had a building down there that used to be a mill. So yeah, she probably worked in one of the mills or.
There was a mill. There was a mill in Millville.
That's where.
Well, what else were they going to put here?
That's where the best player in baseball today is from Millville, New Jersey. Mike Trout.
Who?
Oh. Millville, New Jersey.
Good for him. Well, the mother was working all the time, seeming, and the older sister was like, "I'm married. I'm knocked up. I gotta go hang around with my husband. So have fun." I got a lot of married interests. So Sally, you can just be in fucking 5th grade and be all lonely and not really have any friends. And
being like a latchkey in the fucking 30s.
Happens.
It wasn't like us where everybody was.
Where it was probably like a big key, like the key to the city. That's the kind of key it was. So she was probably tired from walking home from school carrying the big ass key. So the cool kids or the mean girls, or however you want to describe it, said that they might want to be friends with her, but she would have to pass an initiation to get into the group. She had to get jumped in, as it were. And the test was, for her, for Sally anyway, you had to go to Woolworths and steal
the cashier's
something.
Glass eye. Yes, I knew it. Told you I read up on it.
You read a fucking D&D module. So Sally, being a 5th grader, was not an accomplished thief. But she really wanted to have friends, so she went in the Woolworths. It was June 13th, 1948. So the kid was like 11.
19 what? All right.
48.
Before you said 30-something, didn't you?
That was when she was born.
See, I gotta wake up. Don't worry, I'm editing that out. I just started when I sat down. There's no effect.
So she goes into Woolworths. She goes into Woolworths and she's like, I gotta steal something. Well, I don't even fucking steal. This boat anchor? No, too heavy. This giant sombrero, much too big. I'm gonna steal this little notebook, like the kind that a reporter would lick the end of his pencil and then write it when he wants to find out what the scoop is. So
why would you lick a pencil?
She grabs it.
They always do it, but why would you lick a pencil? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. They jab right into your tongue.
It's going to wet the paper. And, I don't
know. Ugh. All right, all you pencil lickers out there that happen to be fans of the show, why don't you head over to the YouTube comments? I don't know.
Go into the Discord.
Go to Twitter.
Discord.
I don't know.
Chat us up.
Oh yeah, go to the Discord. I'll read the link.
DR985 _
fucking. So yeah. So she steals the notebook and she's gonna fucking make it. She's gonna leave.
It's like one of those scenes where she's walking and she looks all around and nobody's there. And as she opens the door, what should happen?
clamp
Hand
right on her
there.
hand. A tall, skinny jerk with a face like a
See, when she said
fucking
he was
chisel,
skinny, I knew he was a fuck.
wearing a fedora. Yeah, you can't trust skinny people. He was wearing a fedora, which is, well, I guess at the time that really didn't narrow it down because it was fucking olden times. Yeah. So he had a big scar on his cheek. He had another scar on his neck. So obviously his head had been in some scrapes. He also had a scar on his hand. Basically, he was all fucked up. But he was probably around 50, and she's scared shitless that she just got caught stealing this fucking 5-cent notebook. And the dude says, well, I'm an FBI agent, and you're under arrest. So the kid starts crying, because of course she does, because the FBI guy points across to City Hall and says, you know, kids like you go over there.
To become mayor?
To the reformatory. Yeah, I know. This is so. We're in a. Y'all without sin can cast the first stone. We're going to see a lot of steps through here where somebody playing Monday morning quarterback could probably go, well, you know, what if you had done this or what if you had done that? Blah, 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 blah. Which is if there are bosses like that who just keep asking questions until they land on one that had that gone differently, it would have been avoided. Like whatever the problem is. And those are the most annoying people in the world. It's like, shut the fuck up. Guess what else would happen? If none of us had come to work today, the problem wouldn't have occurred because none of us would have been here, you fucking dummy. Anyway, the kid gets bamboozled because she thinks that City Hall is the fucking reformatory and this guy is from the FBI. He says, all right, well, it's a good thing that I'm the FBI guy that caught you.
Yeah, good thing.
Because I'm not gonna turn you into the reformatory, but you're gonna have to report to me from time to time. And if you do that, then I'll let you go. And she's like, oh, phew, that's the best. I'll report or whatever, even though none of that makes any sense, but whatever. She's 11. She's a fucking child.
1949. Just remember, this isn't today where every 11-year-old just about that can afford it has a cell phone and everything else. It's a different world back then.
Right.
You only knew what your parents told you, and your parents didn't tell you dick. You didn't learn from TV because it didn't exist yet, or it barely existed.
Yep. So as far as you knew, just random guys. First of all, that the FBI would be interested in notebook theft. Yeah. So
we're working all the Woolworths in this area.
It's a ring. It's a ring. What do you think? Paper grows on trees? Well, service, shut up. Don't talk back to me. So she's all like relieved that she's not going to have to tell everybody that she got kind of arrested by a weirdo at Woolworths. And all she's going to have to do is report to him. Now, what the fuck report? I don't know where that was going to go. How many notebooks have you stolen since the last report?
Where would you report to him?
Right,
we'll meet at the chock full of nuts.
Yeah. Let's go back to the Woolworths. You bring me another notebook, and then I'll let you go. So she's walking home from school a few days later, and the fucking guy basically jumps out of the bushes like, blah, and says, yeah, well, it's all changed now. The notebook ring is really getting fucking problematic, and you're going to have to go with me to Atlantic City
for the notebook thief convention to try to pick out some of the ringleaders.
Now, and again, if anybody judges this girl, I will come through this podcast and punch you in the fucking Adam's apple. However, he managed to bamboozle her to say, all right, well, I'm an FBI agent, and I have to take you to Atlantic City. But in order for you not to get arrested, even though I'm taking you to Atlantic City, you have to tell your mother that I'm your friend's father and that we're all going on vacation. So she's like, okay. So she calls the house to tell Ella, the mother. And the mother was like, yeah, fine. Which, by the way, not surprising whatsoever, because I did that all the time because I was older. I didn't do it when I was 11. But, I mean, sometimes you just, I don't know, you got to trust your kids to not, I don't know. You had kids. If some kid just called up and said, yeah, I got to go to Atlantic City for vacation with my friend that you haven't met.
Yeah,
Here's
I don't
an
know
adult
that would have
on
worked.
the phone. I think that if we're going to blame anybody, we'll blame the mother. Well, obviously, we'll blame the guy, but we'll also blame the mother.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because she was the only kid home, right? She was the only kid she really had. So it's not like
but then also the mother was like,
well, the mother was exhausted from work, and you don't know, she could have been doing 10, 12-hour days and stuff like that. But you still, like, I guess I don't know, the instinct to protect your kid should, I don't know. Maybe in 1949, she was impressed enough that the guy had a phone. Oh, if you've got a phone, he must be pretty well
That's
off.
true, too. Yeah, that's true. Even though he was calling from that very same Woolworths. Well, also they were poor, and I'll never be able to take her to Atlantic City. So why not let her have fun with her friends? Because I'm sorry, you're not going to jump to this phone call is part of a kidnapping. That's not where you're going to jump. That's not where your head's going to go.
No. At worst, your head's going to go towards these are irresponsible parents or something like that. Like, are they going to keep a good eye on them and take care of them right? Like, I can't imagine ever the first thought's going to be like, this doesn't sound right. I wonder if she's going to be taken.
Well, no, because the next day she was taken by the mother to the bus station where Frank was sitting on the bus, who didn't apparently get off the bus and just waved, "Hello, I'm the adult. There are no other children
kids
around.
Are over there somewhere. You can't see them."
With those other people that look like those kids' parents, but don't.
They're really your daughter's friends.
I'm giving them their space. Anyway, it worked from the standpoint of the monstrous kidnapper. It worked. So now we have to talk about fucking Frank LaSalle.
Frank
LaSalle, who had many, many aliases. I bet one of them was Biff Tuck Dick, but we'll call him Frank. 2 months earlier, Frank had been released from prison.
Well, it seems like he learned his lesson.
Why was he in prison? Stealing notebooks? Negative. He was in prison for the statutory rape of 5 different girls between the ages of 12 and 14. Also, bootlegging. So I don't know how you have time to mix those things together, because I don't think the other bootleggers.
In all honesty, he probably served more time for the bootlegging than he did for the raping.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure. So he was obviously a scumbag, but you got to think about it from the standpoint of, and this story is going to bring us through. He organized his fucking life around having a kid to have sex with. Like, he didn't have any other fucking aspirations. He wasn't looking to try out for the Flyers. He was 50, long past his hockey prime. No way was he going to make it. So instead, he just kind of fucked off, was a mechanic, and then he would go from job to job and maybe do some bootlegging and then some fucking statutory rape, which, what the fuck? How do you get 5? How do you get to the number 5 before you get caught? How? I get that they didn't have the internet, but I would say at 2 would be when the police would get especially
If it was
interested.
poor kids, why would they care?
In the-
it's no different than now. Only it was worse. Like think about how entertaining the Little Rascals were. These are a bunch of poor kids that lived on the streets, didn't have parents, basically, and just did whatever the fuck they want. And there was a lot of that shit because you had kids that came over and parents didn't survive and all sorts of other shit. Kids everywhere. Fucking gross.
Well, Frank did have a wife
Bully him.
named Dorothy Dare, who she could have been a lady in a comic book because they all have alliterative names.
Did
reason.
she later have a great granddaughter named Barbara Dare?
Superstar. So he married Dorothy. She was just fucking 18. Like,
of course, that's probably about as
that
old
day
as
or whatever.
he would marry, right?
Yeah, long in the tooth, but whatever.
See, you're getting your wisdom tooth, huh?
So, so he run off with her, and the father didn't take too kindly to it, and he got the cops involved, and they went looking for Frank, and they caught him.
Even though she was 18?
He was going by the name Frank.
Was 18.
He was going to be, oh no, she wasn't quite 18.
Oh.
I had it wrong. She wasn't quite. She was almost 18. Anyway, his name was Frank Fogg because he wanted to be in a comic book too.
He had a voice like the Velvet Fog, baby.
They all busted in, and they're like, all right, well, we got you now,
Frankie the pervert.
And he was like, well, tough titty, because look at this. And he waves the fucking marriage certificate back and forth. And apparently you can have an underage girl if you marry her.
My diddling's not illegal, see? You don't know what you're talking about.
And in 1939, they had a kid named Madeline. And then their marriage hit the skids because Frank got arrested for bigamy. Why? For fuck's sake. He got acquitted, though, so,
He was such a catch that 2 women had to have him?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck the story was, but whatever it was, he fucking took a shit on him, and later on, Dorothy sued Frank because he didn't pay child support, and they think that she had caught him with another woman or a girl. And in 1942, he got arrested for raping all those girls. Well, actually, it was the beginning of 1943, and he pled not guilty, and then he changed it to no contest, and he got a 2.5-year sentence. That's 6 months per child rape.
Oh, God. What a justice system.
So he got paroled after 14 months. Because, And he got a job as a mechanic in Philadelphia. Then he got arrested for beating somebody up. And then those got dropped. Then he got indicted again for writing bad checks. And for that, he went back to prison because, rape all the kids you want, but don't try to fucking steal from Amalgamated Incorporated.
Well, if we learned anything, we know that people care more about people stealing than hurting people that you don't care about.
So he got out. That brings us up to speed So his next idea is, I'm going to wait in the Woolworths until some little kid steals a notebook. He was on day 173 of his trap when he finally sprung it on poor Sally. And
poor Sally.
It fucking worked, and he's on the bus with the girl going to Atlantic City. He calls himself Frank Warner, which I don't know. Seems to me that just making up other names doesn't help anything. If you don't have any ID to go with the names, you know what I mean? Like, my name is Phineas Marmalade, and I would like a room at your establishment.
Phineas Marmalade.
Sally called the mother, like checked in, wrote her letters and said, I'm having a lot of fun. And for 6 weeks, the mother was like, well, this is good. It's a good summer vacation down there. She keeps calling in. She sounds fine. I'm tired all the fucking time. And then Sally says, oh, they're going to stay longer. And then another week passed and shit got a little more vague. And then after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, she just stopped calling. And then the letters that the mother was writing were getting returned. And she hadn't gotten anything from Sally. So she's like, maybe something is amiss. Considering that I can't contact my fucking daughter
from her in weeks.
Who's with someone whose names I do not know. And the last time she talked to Sally, Sally said, yeah, they're going to, Frank and I are going to Baltimore. And the mother was like, okay. And then hangs up and was like,
just
wait a minute.
Frank and you.
Who would go on vacation to Baltimore, A, and B, what happened to the other children that were supposedly mixed in with this vacation? And then she's like, I'm a fucking idiot because I gave my daughter to a kidnapper and had ample chances to unkidnap her and failed. So she calls the cops on July 31st. July 31st. That was a long time that they were there before she called the cops. And she's like, well, you're not going to believe this, but... So the cops were like, well, we're going to go to Atlantic City and we're going to go to where they said they were staying. And the cops went and they had just fucking left. There were suitcases still there. Like they got tipped off or some shit.
Well, didn't she tell her that they were going to Baltimore?
Yeah, but they left without their clothes. Like, I mean, she didn't say they're leaving for Baltimore like then, but like that was the next stage of the plan. Trip. So they also found a picture of Sally that nobody else had seen. So obviously fucking scumbag Frank took it. And then the cops had to go back and go, yeah, well, we're pretty sure that the guy that has your daughter is a horrible child rapist. But don't despair, even though it's 100% your fault.
We have like a 5% chance of finding her, maybe. Things are just going your way.
But they did. They went to Baltimore and they just played it like he was her father. She got enrolled in Catholic school. And she actually went to school. But then they were like, no, well, they weren't a they. It was the kidnapper and the child he kidnapped. He decided, yeah, they're not Bonnie and fucking Clyde. So it's like Leonard Smalls and Nathan, Arizona. So they go to fucking Texas. Dallas.
They were just lucky that Walker wasn't there yet.
And true. The timing of this was, I mean, I'd say suspicious, except it's not suspicious. He's like he found out that he got indicted again in New Jersey, so he's like, well, I should get far away from fucking New Jersey. So off to Texas they went, telling Sally that he has to go do some FBI investigating, because remember, this whole time it was the FBI thing. Like, it was still going. Telling her that he had to go to Texas to do some special Texas FBI shit. So they ended up in Dallas in a trailer park in a shitty part of town. They lived there about a year, and the neighbors thought that it was just a father and his daughter. Like, she had a dog. Frank would give her, money to go buy shit with. She did all sorts of stuff. She'd go to the neighbor's trailer, went swimming.
How dare
like
she
normal
not try to
shit.
get away? How dare she? Oh, wait, we're not blaming the kid.
Where's she going to get away to? He's the FBI.
She can't.
Frank gets a job as a mechanic. Well, I think him getting a job as a mechanic
probably would have,
or actually setting up his own mechanic shop.
Yeah, you would think like maybe like after a few months, she's like, I don't think he is an FBI agent.
The nonstop raping would also probably be a clue. And I'm not like, just remember that through all this is not some misguided fellow who thinks that he's like rescuing her or anything. He's a fucking monster who rapes her constantly. She's basically a 12-year-old
But she doesn't even know what
slave.
it is. That's the thing. Like back then, her mother wouldn't have had any fucking talk. There were no magazines, cable, internet. She didn't even know what was happening to her.
It's just FBI shit. Anyway,
run-of-the-mill FBI shit.
She got a report card. She got A's and B's. How do you get kidnapped, become a sex slave, move to Texas when you live in New Jersey by a guy who says he's from the FBI but opens a mechanic shop and still pull fucking A's and B's?
She was going to school in Texas now.
Yeah, but it was a Catholic school.
All right. That's true.
So basically, anybody that didn't get A's and B's, they're to the bar now. What's your excuse? Were you a fucking sex slave? No. Well then, maybe you should fucking lay off the fucking TV then, Jimmy. So, people said that she looked older than her age. Not. Who would have known?
She looked at least 14.
But that, yeah. She was haunted looking, but they said other than the fact that Frank basically never let her out of his sight for the most part, that wasn't completely true because, she got to do shit and whatever like that, but he was super, quote unquote, protective. But one neighbor said she didn't know who was more spoiled, Sally or her dog. Well, guess what? Newsflash, lady, he wasn't raping the dog, so I'm going to say the dog. Because when all these people found out later what had actually happened, they were legit like, what? Because again, I want to slug all these people in the chops. On the other hand, I'm not going to immediately jump to, well, this child is obviously a sex slave. Like your head wouldn't go there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you can say, oh, the 50s or whatever. Right now, 2022, if a guy came up with an 11-year-old girl, yeah, this is my daughter, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to pull him aside and go, listen, buddy, can you prove to me that she's not a sex slave? Yeah. Like, that's not going to happen. Everybody errs on the side of shit's normal. Now, if the guy comes lurching up like fucking Charles Manson with a swastika carved in his forehead, yeah, sure, probably you're gonna, ask a couple questions, but if you look like Joe Friday from fucking Dragnet, even though your face is all scarred up, which is weird. But anyway, Sally never told anybody for a really long time, except one friend from school in Texas, which we'll get to that. But there was one person in the trailer park who thought something was fishy. Her name was Ruth Janish. And she just was not buying it. Like, she knew something was hinky. Even though she was poor, her husband was an itinerant farm worker. They would just move around from wherever farm shit needed to happen. And for like right from the jump, Janish was like, there's something fucked up about that. Because Frank was always watching Sally. And Sally didn't have any fucking friends that ever came over to play or that she went to or anything like that. She just stayed there most of the time and spent all her time with Frank. And he was super, like, possessive. So Ruth was all like, hey, Sally, are you, got anything you want to tell me?
Right.
And Sally wouldn't say anything. So the Janishes had to leave in March because there was farming to do in California. But Ruth was on the ball enough and suspicious enough to fucking cook up a plan. She writes to Frank and says, hey, you and Sally should come to California with us. We'll save a trailer spot next to ours. And Frank's like, that's a great idea. So off they go to California. And how the fuck? I don't know. It's just, I don't understand the mentality of a person who is so obsessed about as long as I have this fucking child as my pretend daughter / wife, I don't really need anything else. Just go to California and I've got to find a job. And instead of driving around, he would take the bus. I don't know, maybe gas costs 7 cents a gallon instead of 5 cents a gallon or whatever. And that gave Sally some time alone.
Right.
Because he had no reason to think that, she was going to do anything, except that one thing that had happened before they went to California was that she got appendicitis and had to have her appendix out, and she spent some time in the hospital. This is Sally. And after that, she didn't seem the same. Like, all the other shit that happened to her didn't, like, make her seem different, but the going in the hospital for appendicitis did. Now, my personal thought is maybe that there were doctors or something else that, brought some shit up, since they were examining her and whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That they would have said just to her or some shit like that. And not helpful in any way, just traumatize the kid some more and then let her go. But also, it makes me wonder, how does a fucking guy who is a career criminal and a fucking 12-year-old, how do you get to go to the hospital and have your appendix out? What did they write down? What did they just go, that'll be $19.95, sir? Like, how did it work? It's so weird. Anyway, when they were in California, since this was post-appendectomy, she was kind of, I don't know. She was She had a different attitude because also she was on the other side of her country from her family. Who knows if she still thought he was in the FBI, but whatever it was. before she left Dallas, she fucking told one of her friends at school what was happening. She actually told somebody. What did the friend say? Stop being such a slut.
God. A good friend.
There was her one fucking try to, you know what I mean? Like, ugh, it's just so awful. So then she started thinking, well, this is my fault, obviously. If I hadn't been so sexy when I stole that notebook, none of this would be happening to me. Because again, she's a child. She can't process fucking complex. I mean, yeah, she has the ability to reason, but the fact is that try to fucking make heads or tails out of what's happening in your life when you're that age. Like, oh, I just live with this guy now who rapes me all the time.
It's hard enough being like a 12-year-old regularly.
Yeah,
you don't remember?
I don't remember. I swear to God, there's a huge piece of my brain missing. I don't remember shit from when I'm a kid. Or when I was a kid, or how words work. Anyway, I remember shitty stuff. I just, whatever. Anyway, I don't remember how old I was when anything happened.
You just know. You're like the Goldberg.
That's for sure.
You just know. In 1970 something. April 4th, 1970 something.
Basically. I have to go to my brother for dates. And what, he remembers all that shit. So, Ruth, now that Sally was alone and Frank was riding the bus around San Jose looking for mechanic work, hey, this bus sounds kind of rattly. How about I fix it? Sorry, this is a public
I can
bus.
fix it while it's moving. Come on, let me help out.
I got a wrench right in my pocket.
Give me $1, I'll fix it.
All right, now I'm going to slug you with this wrench. give me all the nickels in the bus box thing. So Ruth went to work on Sally when she got her alone and just finally got her to open up and explain what the fuck had happened to her. And Ruth was like, well, son of a bitch. A, I was right. B, my plan fucking worked completely. And C, this poor goddamn kid. Now, remember, the mother didn't have any money, Ella. The one thing that she told herself, and this I feel very, very, very fucking acutely, and anybody listening to this who grew up poor, I have to make sure that I have enough money to keep the fucking phone connected because it needs to work if Sally ever calls. Right. So Ruth says, yeah, here's the phone. Call. This is how you do long distance. You know your phone number. And she's like, yeah, it's like 7 Klondike, or whatever it was in the 50s. Exactly. And she calls, disconnected. Because the mother couldn't do it. The phone was shut off. So imagine, like there's nobody wins in this story, like all of our fucking stories. But imagine being my daughter's fucking kidnapped and all I got to do is keep the phone on. Well, or not. Like what fucking, how many cuts did she have to make before she got to the phone? You know what I mean? And how do you not be able to call a phone company and go, yeah, can I have an extension because of kidnapped daughter?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
But this is, again,
like how much could she have possibly, how much could she have?
This is olden times, right? There weren't programs to help poor people and things like that yet.
No, but I'm just saying, how fucking much
would she owe, like $3?
The phone bill be in 1950? Exactly.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
So anyway, well, at any rate, she couldn't fucking keep it together. So the other number that Sally knew was her sister, her brother-in-law's house. Al Panero. So Al picks up at the greenhouse. That's where they worked. And he's like, holy fucking shit, you're alive and you're on the phone. And he asks all sorts of questions, finds out exactly where they are. Sally says, tell mom I'm safe, but I just want to come home. And Al says, don't fucking move. I'll call you back. So Sally at this point gets scared that Frank's going to find out. And Ruth spends the whole time going, yeah, he can't fucking do anything. Like, you're at my house. He's not. Just relax. And Al, who's the fucking hero of this story, gets the FBI.
The real FBI?
Who calls the real FBI.
Frank and says,
because it was obviously a known. It was.
You got a case
it was
for
Frank.
you.
Aha, it was me all along. You've blown the notebook case. Now you're going to jail, Al. So they call the sheriff in California, and they fucking book it because this was a known case.
This would have been pretty famous. Yeah.
You know. Yeah. They fucking book it over there, and they find Sally, and her big fear is that Frank is going to come back and get her. And they're like, no, he won't, because we are. And they took her to juvie, which was the place she wanted to not go in the first place. Why she went with him.
And that was how they were protecting her, by throwing her in juvie?
They sent her to juvie, they gave her a medical examination, and they just fucking sat there. They didn't have fucking counselors or anything like that. That wasn't even a job. I mean, for fuck's sake, people came back from the war after seeing
God knows
what horrors, and society's idea for that was, you need a new pair of shoes or some shit like that. Like, people didn't have fucking any idea how to deal with anything. And everything they did was all terrible, wrong, and opposite. So the other cops waited around for Frank, and he got off the bus. Apparently, if Frank had just taken the car, none of this would have happened. I don't know. His penny pinching ways came back to bite him. But anyway, they arrested him, and he's like, "Yeah, no, this is all a big misunderstanding. She's my daughter, and her mother is a bum, and I am taking care of her, and I've raised her whole life, and I'm separated from her mother, blah, blah, blah." And they were like, yeah, no, you're full of shit.
That's not going to work anymore.
Tuck Dick, you're coming with us. And he originally got charged with violating the Mann Act, Part 2, transporting a female across state lines with the intention of corrupting her morals. That was the fucking statute. Her morals. What the fuck do her morals have to do with it? Was that so they could arrest people to be like, well, you know what? Maybe you should explore Judaism. Oh, nope. You're corrupting her morals. You're going to jail. Like, I'm sure that it was just some, anyway, she had to go to court for some fucking reason to hear him get charged. And she freaked out. And she's like, I never saw him until I went to Woolworth's and stole that damn notebook. And nobody believed Frank because fucking look at him. Chisel face fuck. And then the FBI was like, you know what? They literally said, we don't want to make a federal case out of this because it would be easier to prosecute him in New Jersey. So they're like, well, send him back to New Jersey because that's where he fucking kidnapped her from. And that's, we don't need to fucking do this big web of intrigue. He's just a fucking scumbag kidnapper rapist, and he kidnapped and raped her in Atlantic City for like weeks. So just get him for that. And so they went, the prosecutors flew. This is kind of funny. The prosecutors flew to California to get him, but they had to go back by train because they needed him to be handcuffed, and you couldn't be handcuffed on a plane.
Huh?
No, but it was an
Oh,
airline
Jesus.
rule, not a law.
Oh, well, if
Like,
American Airlines says
what the-
so.
Yeah, well, look at them. They're all wearing pantyhose. So she finally gets back to
Right.
Philadelphia, March
Oh, so it's
31st,
perfect. It's a happy
1950.
ending, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, sure. And she gets reunited with her mother, and everything was great. You know, they were all happy. And so I was like, I just want to go home and go to bed. And they were like, nope, that you can't. And I have no idea. I still don't understand why. But they were like, nope, you got to go to juvie again until the trial is over. Why?
That makes no
Why?
sense.
I don't understand it.
That makes no fucking sense.
They had to watch over her. And she finally got to meet her niece because the niece was born 2 months after she got
like
kidnapped.
a year and a half old now. Yeah.
Yeah. So her mother could visit her at juvie. None of it's okay. But anyways, it turned out that the only fucking good thing that shitfuck Frank did was he pled guilty. He said, I don't need a lawyer. I don't need anything. His stated reason was he did not want the family to have to go through any more bullshit. Which is the one. Now, does it make up for anything? No. But
that makes up for one raping.
Yeah. No, not even. Maybe the scaring her at Woolworths. That may make up for him scaring her at Woolworths. So he got sentenced to 30 to 35 years. And I tried to find, for the cold open quote, I tried to find the fucking actual transcript of the fucking trial because the judge called him a moral leper, which is a great thing to call somebody. He also said that mothers across the country can now breathe a sigh of relief knowing that a monstrous predator like him was safely behind bars. But you know who can't? The women, the mothers of the 5 other girls he raped, where he only got 6 months in jail for each one of them. They're probably not sighing at all because then he got loose.
Well, maybe they're finally happy that he's finally going to serve some real time.
Well, then the papers, and I read some news accounts that, were not shitty, but they started saying that, describing a 12-year-old as plump. Like, why? What? Why? Why? Why would that happen? Why would you
can get a good picture of her as you're imagining sleeping with her?
They had a picture of her. They had a picture they could put in the fucking paper. So they also went into great detail about the whole sex slave thing for no reason. You just don't have to go into we know here on Strangeful Things when to go through the details and when to not go through the details. There's a case that's going to be coming up where we're going to go through the details because the details will make everybody so fucking uncomfortable that they're going to throw their phone in a toilet. At least that's what I did when I was reading the details of it. But in this case, no. Leave her alone. But then her mother got interviewed and holds up a picture of her daughter who was just returned to her after she let her get kidnapped as a sex slave, and says, no matter what she did, I forgive her. The fuck did she do?
Oh my God.
Ella.
Oh, my
dumbass. So, of course, victim blaming, because on its face, you can see people looking at it, fucking stupid Leave It to Beaver assholes jiggling their giant newspapers going, well, this doesn't seem right.
Plenty
Yeah,
of
she
time
had
she
plenty
could have
of
gotten
time.
out of there.
She went to school every day.
If she wanted to.
Yeah, she could have. Yeah,
She's
obviously.
in it.
She
She's
let him
into
on.
it. She
Or
likes
some fucking nonsense like that.
fucking
Yeah.
animals.
So, also, the whole not treating, well, kids weren't treated as people anyway, and
Even
girls
worse.
even
like my
worse.
grandmother, like children should be seen and not heard. Like, yeah. It's like, okay, like you're.
Well, even by that rule, Ella did the opposite. She couldn't see her, but she talked to her on the phone. So that's worse. She heard her, but didn't see her. So your grandmother was probably like, see? You had done what I said. None of this would have happened. So keep an eye on him and tell him to shut the fuck up. So otherwise, you know what happens? Society has declined so much I would beat my child if he asked me so much for a biscuit. But now you just got kids screaming on the floor at Applebee's, ruining everybody's experience. So Frank, for his part, managed to make everything worse for himself by, even though he pled guilty, he had to make sure that he committed perjury by sticking with the whole, no, we've been married the whole time and I'm her real father part. So they just kind of tacked that on at the end and said, well, I mean, obviously, I don't have proof that he said this. I know he said that the mother didn't really care about Sally and didn't treat her as good as Frank did. But I'm going to say that if you were Frank and you went, are you going to tell me that this mother actually, let me give you the rundown of the shit I did that the mother allowed me to do. Are you going to tell me that she wasn't in on it? Like, that's not a bad argument.
Yeah, but does any of it take away the fact that he did these like, I don't understand, like, what's the point of, like, he's not no. Like, so it's just gonna be that the girl was making it up at that point. Then, if he could get them to buy into that story that he never did anything to her, I would think one exam would have been like, whoa, there's a lot of scar tissue in here.
My guess is that he was just gonna fucking limp along until they could get legally married, and then anything that happened before wouldn't matter. And she was so fucking brainwashed by that point. Although, to her credit, she didn't have fucking Stockholm syndrome, because as soon as the biggest thing she was afraid of him. She wasn't like, oh, I have to go protect Frank. Yeah, but not not that other
when she had
thing
when she had somebody that was actually there for her and thought of her and cared for her, she got away. But other than that, she was on her own and just afraid. You know?
So Frank died in prison. Hooray! He was 70 when he died. He had served 16 years of his sentence. And I like to think that although the official cause of death was arteriosclerosis, I like to think that somebody else in the jail took a paint stirrer, you know, those wooden paint stirrers, and cracked it in the middle until one end was super sharp and just shoved it in his dick hole until he died.
That's more likely than the arterial sclerosis.
I mean, if I was in jail and I knew I wasn't getting out and I knew what Frank had done, I would do it, because what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Give me what if I was in there with the death penalty already? Then I fucking did that to Frank. And then they're like, well, you're in big trouble now. Well, actually, I'm in less trouble, because now I have to go through a big, long trial for killing Frank.
Yeah, but I'm
So as long as I keep,
I'm sure there's ways that they can make it that you wouldn't want to do anything.
I don't know. Seems to me that the just keep killing people so that you're always on trial way of getting away with the death penalty seems like the most viable option. Because the odds are that you didn't kill the person that they put you in there and gave you the death penalty for in the first place. So
You might as well get a killing or two in, so you know, at least serving the right sentence.
So Sally's home. Ella kind of low-key called her a slut. And Sally finished 8th grade, although she was a year behind. But she did graduate with honors. She was a good student, blah, blah, blah. She's going to go to high school. She started being, she really didn't have any friends because, of course, she didn't have any friends because everyone called her a big slut because everybody's fucking terrible. And when I say everybody, I mean fucking everybody. And that was where the what do you call it? The quote from the cold open. It was Al, who was like, well, she never said she was depressed, but she didn't seem right. You mean she didn't seem right after she had been kidnapped and was a slave for 2 years and then came back and literally someone, no matter how you looked at it, quote, she had a friend named Carol, one friend. And according to Carol, because she wasn't a virgin anymore, quote, no matter how you looked at it, she was a slut, a total whore. This about a 13-year-old girl, or 15 at this point, I guess. Yeah. But enslaved. And then people didn't believe her because again, now, admittedly, the amount of fear that was it, nobody is going to be, especially not fucking teenagers are fucking monsters. Monsters. They're not going to believe that she didn't know what was happening or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they're fucking terrible. It's the adults that are to blame. But anyway, but she didn't get to move to a different town because they couldn't even keep the fucking phone on. Where are they going to move? Like she couldn't start over or anything like that, But she did her best, and she had one friend.
Yeah,
Carol
she was a good
one
friend.
And
she seemed like a good friend.
Yeah. Well, no, she wasn't called. She was saying that other people call her.
But
she
that's
didn't
what it
call her
sounded
slut.
like.
Jeez. Well, it wasn't. It was just that was the conventional. She was describing the conventional wisdom
of
what people thought of Sally. To them, right. So it was never spoken about in the family. Her niece, didn't find out that it even happened until she was a fucking teenager. I mean, I don't know why you would sit a 5-year-old down and say, okay, this is why you can never go anywhere.
Story about your Aunt Sally.
But, oh yeah, you want to stay after school and play marbles? Well, listen to this. This is why you're not going to. So Ella, I don't know. Ella, they don't know if Ella was even ever married. Ella wasn't the best. Her kids could have been from different fathers, but whatever. So Sally was right back where she was when she stole the fucking notebook because her mother worked all the time. And now she was even further away from her sister because her sister actually had a baby to take care of. Plus everybody hated her because they thought she was a big slutbag who didn't realize the guy wasn't an FBI agent and went with him on some kind of fucking whirlwind tour.
Yeah.
Except for Carol. So in 1952, Ella said, okay, well, you can go to Wildwood with Carol because even though the place is called Wildwood, and you would think that Ella would never let her go anywhere again, she must have known Carol and known that they were, friends and whatever. And again, with the whole, I honestly, I think that's one of the reasons that my mother didn't give a shit where I went. She's like, well, whatever you're doing is probably more fun than anything I can fucking provide.
Yeah.
So whatever, you know what I mean? Like, so they go in summer 1952, and they meet some people, and Sally meets this Sally's 15 now. All this shit has happened to her, and now she's 15. She meets a guy named Edward John Baker, and they liked each other. They hit it off and whatever.
Right.
Now, she and Carol both had fake IDs that said they were 17, which having a fake ID that says you're 17 should be just as useless as one that says you're 15 that's real. But anyway, apparently the fact that she had this fake ID that said she was 17 meant everything was okay for the 20-year-old Edward John Baker. I don't know how you go, well, why were you with that 15-year-old? Because she said she was 17. Obviously, 17 must have meant more back then.
No, I think 17 is the age of consent in a lot of places.
I guess.
For
but why would you get a fake ID for consent? You get a fake ID to drink.
Get banged like by what? Old guys. I don't know. Drinking age was never like 17, so I don't know why.
I just thought of a story for the Patreon, but I don't think I can tell. I'll tell you after the show, but I can't tell you. I can't fucking release this information. But I'll tell you because you'll think it's funny. Anyway, they had a good time at Wildwood, and then it was time to go back, and they were going to go on the bus because apparently the only way you could go anywhere in New Jersey was on a fucking bus. And Sally was like, hey, listen, Carol, you take the bus. I'm going to let my new boyfriend give me a ride in his Roadster. And Carol was like, all right, I'm down, whatever. When they were driving back, Ed crashed the car into a truck that was parked on the side of the road, and that truck hit another truck that was also parked by the side of the road. And Ed got minor injuries. Sally was dead. Crushed in the accident, broke her neck, crushed her chest, broke her leg above the knee. An autopsy was not performed because basically cause of death was gestures at body. And her face was so smashed up that the cops were like, well, we can't have the mother come to identify her because she'll go fucking insane. So who had to do it? Al Panero had to go.
Yeah, poor Al.
So fucking Al's a fucking saint. And he said he identified her because of a scar on her leg. And that's the kind of I don't know. I just think that there should be better ways to identify. But yeah, they always do it in the cop shows. You know, can you identify the body? Lift up the sheet. Ah! You know, I don't want that to happen to me. I mean, if I'm under the sheet,
now
I guess
they
I
should
wouldn't
be able
care,
to just do it by fingerprints and stuff like that.
Yeah, fucking 23andMe that shit. Frank LaSalle sent flowers from prison. And if you want to have a little fucking peek into somebody's crazy fucking brain,
yeah,
I don't think he was trolling.
No, I don't think so either.
I think he thought he was part of the family or what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Obviously, they didn't put the flowers out.
Those are probably the only ones anybody ever even sent.
Yeah, right. When my grandfather died, my mother's father, he worked at this dairy, which is still a dairy in Maine. He worked there for like 40 years in a row. And something stupid like never missed a day. You know, one of those old fucking crapper stories that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he had been retired for, I don't know, decades. when he died, the fucking dairy sent a wreath so fucking big. Like, it was the biggest. I worked at a cemetery. I never saw a wreath that big before or since.
Huh.
And he wasn't even like, it wasn't a dairy man. He was like that fucking janitor, or I don't know, milk jug thrower. I don't know what the fuck he did, but
Milky Joe.
Yeah, but he had a pet. I don't know. Don't get me started on that. But anyway, I always thought that was neat. At any rate, Sally's fucking tragic life. You know what?
What?
Now that I think about it,
You're not going to say her life was tragic, were you?
Yeah, but I hope that Sally, instead of screaming, "Look out," or some shit because she was looking out the windshield of the car, I hope that she was just looking at Frank's fucking profile while he was busy driving into the truck, or they were making out or some shit like that, so that she just went from super, super happy that this guy was into her,
right, to dead.
With nothing in between. If that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the damage was bad enough that, that she wasn't like laying there for, a half an hour, like bleeding out or something. Sounds like she was pretty much crushed.
So the news reports of this helped Nabokov get his details, because the girl in the book dies in a car crash too. And the movie, that's the poster. The heart glasses sucking on the lollipop. That was the movie poster.
For the new one, right?
No, for the old one. I just looked it up.
Oh, for the original one?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Oh, I thought they did that for the new one.
Why would you do that? You fucking...
Well, Kubrick was a freak too, eyes wide shut.
Kubrick said, yeah, but that's grown. I don't care what fucking grown-ups do. They can do the fucking paint stirrer pee hole thing. I don't care. Kubrick expressed doubt that he would have attempted to make the film had he fully understood how severe the censorship limitations on it would be.
Oh, so he just wanted to go further and probably use a younger kid and stuff like that.
I don't know, man. Peter Sellers was in it? Oh, James Mason.
James Mason was the
Humbert
guy, right? Humbert, yeah.
So, anyway, the moral of this story is none, because everything was fucking terrible. And then this other fucking guy writes a book and makes some bank off of it, and they're still fucking doing it. And you can find plenty of stuff. I'm not going to fucking go in a big diatribe about how the over-sexualization, well, actually not even over, hyper. Any sexualization of a kid is fucked up. And the fact that it's still going on, nobody learns anything. Nothing advances.
No, nothing changes.
So now I'm mad that the guy stole the idea from this real thing. And he should have at least...
He had been working on the book for some time.
Yeah. But then,
he had already had the basis for the book.
Sure. But he also got the end of it. Like, he had seen other news stories in his life. He could have said that she died in a fucking blimp crash because he knew he was alive when the Hindenburg happened. Like, there's tons of...
blimp
and
crash.
Lolita died on the bridges of Normandy.
Oh, the humanity. The humanity.
There's a million ways he could have had her die. You didn't have to fucking rub it in Sally Horner's face, the jackass.
She could have been on the Death Star. Who knows?
She would have been fine if that giant gorilla hadn't taken her to the top of the Empire State Building and then thrown her. So, I don't know. I got no takeaways from this. But that's a little taste of what you're going to get for season 7. The end of the show is just going to be a lot of sighs. Because I don't know if we're going to have the Oakville Blobs.
Hopelessness will wash over you.
The Oakville Blobs are going to save us this season.
Come save the day. Or a nice pair of Nightcrawler pants.
Yep, the Fresno Nightcrawler. Oh. All right, folks. Shuey's going to tell you how you can find us. Not that you've been looking for us all this time, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, I haven't seen the view count going up too fast. But you can go to allmylinks.com/strangefulthings.
Yeah.
That'll show you where we are on for the show, where Acadia and I are individually, all that good stuff.
Yep. And you can come to the Discord, or if you're listening on YouTube, there's no fucking way you made it this far. But if you did, leave a comment.
But if you did get all the way to the end,
if you made it all the way to the end, put a comment, because the YouTube comments give me life sometimes, especially the combative ones. Yeah, so that's what I got. That's it.
All right. You don't want to reach out to the patrons or anything like that?
The patrons know what they got.
Go to join the Patreon.
Well, you can go to patreon.com/strangeful.
Don't we usually push the Patreon?
You know what? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a special fucking shout out that I never ever do to who I like to call the shadow patron. Peggy. Peggy, I'm talking directly to you. Thank you for your support. You kick ass. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thanks, Peggy.
I don't know you because I don't pay attention to the Patreon, but if you do happen to go in the Discord, I may pay attention to that notification. So
yeah,
you never know.
I always do.
Yeah, he always does. But sometimes I'll get there and you'll be in the middle of a conversation, and I'm not gonna chime in "Hi, everybody." Day.
Why? That's exactly what you would do in a conversation. Yeah, but that's what you would do if it was real life.
No, I'd go walk away or hide in the corner.
No, you wouldn't. You'd be like, "Hey, everybody!" Exactly like that. Waving your hands.
Big lumpy self, "Hey, everybody, what's going on?" You're like one of those blow up things at the arm. Hello, everybody.
That's comical. All right.
Well, make sure you all keep on flapping, all right?
Bye-bye.